Dwayne, got a birthday?
Yeah, he had one sometime or other for him to be here.
And Dwayne, how old are you going to be on your birthday, the 27th?
Here's the most important thing. 106 weeks till I'm eligible to retire.
Counting it down.
Pam Fowler, Brenda's new assistant, has a birthday on December 30th. Mr. Charlie Brashears has a birthday. Charlie is 28 years old. Happy birthday, Charlie.
Dwayne's the 27th, mine's the 31st. Okay, what, 4 days
Karen Freeman has a birthday on January 2nd, and Kathy Harrelson on January 9th. Next year. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, everybody. The first day for candidate filing is tomorrow, December 15th. The last day for filing will be January 19th. It'll be 4 council positions and a mayor position. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And on behalf of the city and city council, I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. It means that our next meeting will be after Christmas. So, everybody have a Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.
And we'll be back before then. Happy New Year.
You might be.
Run that meeting. No public, yes, we do have a public hearing. Mr. O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. There was a public notice filed and published in the November 25th issue of the Republic Monitor, announcing a public hearing for this evening for all interested parties to come forward with comments or questions regarding the fiscal year 2016 budget. As Council knows, we've already had our first reading on November 23rd and talked extensively about that. We'll have our second reading a little bit later and then put it up for Council's approval. So at this time, I would like to invite all interested parties to come forward with comments or questions about the budget.
Okay. Anybody who would like to speak in favor of this public hearing, please step forward, sign in, and give us your best 5 minutes or more.
3 minutes.
Anyone wishing to speak against this public hearing, please step forward, sign in, give us your best 3 minutes. Seeing none, this public hearing is closed. On to citizen participation. Anyone wishing to speak about anything not on the agenda, please step forward, sign in, and give us your best 3 minutes. Seeing none, citizen participation is closed. The consent agenda, I need a motion and a second to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries 7-0. On to financial report. Mr. O'Donnell again.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few brief comments. Trust everybody has their financial packets. With respect to the cash balances report, it's increased by approximately $84,000 up to $7.5 million approximately. No unusual activity, just money's coming on in. With respect to the debt outstanding reports, we have a new obligation on the books, which is the loan with Commerce Bank for the newly acquired 2016 International Dump Truck and Snow Plow to the tune of $95,126. So that is the only thing that's on there. We are steadily decreasing our debt at approximately $100,000 per month. So that's always good news. On to the revenue expense reports. We are steadily progressing versus same time last year. As you can see, our numbers are even a little bit better than that. The only exception was where in the utility fund, we had a bit of a setback only because $69,766 was paid to Hogan's Painting and Sandblasting regarding the Hines Street tank modification project. And now for some really good news, I'm happy to report that upon receiving information from Department of Revenue, we received November collections by the department for us came out to be $200,515 and change. This put us over the $2 million mark year to date at $2,028,624 for general sales tax. So about another $172,000 in December, and we'll get up to $2.2 million. I'm looking forward to that number. At this point right now, year to date, we are 8.25% over this time last year. Fire sales tax was $25,057. They are at, and that tax is 6.35% better than this time last year. And I'll have additional numbers on sales taxes at the next meeting, well, next year. And with that, I am done.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Any questions for Mr. O'Donnell? Mr. Clinkenbeard?
Did you get any feedback from any of the local retailers on like the 25th through the 30th time period? I understand from Walmart that they were down considerably from last year, as a lot of retailers were for that Thanksgiving to the end of the year or end of the month.
We've received no feedback from any of the retailers as to how their sales fared or anything like that.
We'll not find out until next month.
Yes, I guess we will.
All right, thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Clinkenbeard. Any other questions for Mr. O'Donnell on the financial report? If you have any questions after going through it again, if you'd like to, please give Mr. O'Donnell a call. I need a motion, a second, to approve the financial report.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. On to the reports of the staff. Mr. Krischke. Not a thing. Mr. Darris.
No, sir.
Future community events. Mr. Keeling. Thank you.
Mr. Harder mentioned a minute ago, tomorrow is the first day, December 15th, the first day for candidate filing. Also tomorrow is Chat with the Chief. That's with Republic Police Chief Mike Lawton. That's held at Walmart from 4 to 6 p.m. This coming Thursday is Senior Movie Day. It's at 3 p.m. It's at the Republic Community Center, and the movie is Mr. Holmes. This coming Monday, December 21st, the Tyler Open Gym. That'll be from 10 a.m. to noon. No registration is necessary. That's for ages 0 to 5. The following dates in December, we'll have our Schools Out program. That's December 23rd, 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st. That program runs from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and it's available for ages 6, completed kindergarten, to 12 years of age. December 24th and 25th, which is next Thursday and Friday, we will be closed for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And finally, on January 1st, we will be closed for New Year's Day.
Thank you, Mr. Keeling. Board Commission and Committee Schedule. Board of Adjustments, January 7th. Capital Improvements Committee for December has been canceled. City Council meeting, January 11th. City Council meeting, January 25th in 2016. Planning and Zoning Commission, December 21st. On to old business and tabled items. I need a motion and a second to read Bill number 15-32.
Motion. Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, appropriating from the revenue of the City of Republic, Missouri, expenditures in accordance with the fiscal year 2016 budget of the City of Republic, Missouri, and providing for adjustments thereto.
I need a motion and a second for the final passage of Bill number 15-32.
Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Overview by Mr. O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mayor. Once again, we are bringing forth the 2016 budget for Council's consideration and approval. We have already discussed this at first reading, and accordingly have given a chance for the public to be heard as well this evening. There is not much more to bring forth, as there were no comments or adjustments since the first reading. Therefore, we present the budget as is and respectfully request Council's approval.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. O'Donnell? Straightforward. questions, no comments? Okay. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Harrelson? Aye. Councilmember Poole?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Councilmember Brashears?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Councilmember Clinkenberry?
Aye.
The vote is 7-0 on that. I need a motion and a second to read bill number 15-33.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, adopting a job description for the position of Environmental Technician/Special Projects Coordinator within the Public Works Department.
Thank you, Brenda. I need a motion and a second for the final passage of bill number 15-33.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Welcome, oh, no, not welcome back. David Brock, welcome.
Thank you, sir. As the title denotes, this is a new position in the Public Works Department. The environmental aspects cover stormwater permitting, our FOGS program, wastewater, and also backflow devices for the drinking water system. There are additional duties described as special projects, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Krischke to elaborate on desired revisions in that regard.
We have had, I don't want to say it's a change in thought, but we did have a little change in our thought process and how we felt this was in the best interest to move the city forward. If you remember at the last meeting, we had labeled this Environmental Technician/Special Projects Coordinator. And in fact, in your red folders, you'll have a revised job description there. What we have done is remove the special projects portion of that out of this job description. After we had thought this through a little deeper, we realized that we were probably trying to put too much into this one position. We were trying to make it a catch-all for just about everything. We had originally intended this to be, as David just announced, just for environmental projects such as MS4 and storm and the FOGS program. And then we attached in there the ADA coordinator's position. Going forward, and this will be another topic for another meeting with City Council, we believe that we need to separate the ADA portion from this particular job description. They really don't mesh all that well. It really needs to be more of a standalone position if that's going to be the desire of the city to move forward. So instead of complicating things and trying to mix up this job description and make it handle too much, we just went back to what the original job description was, bringing that forward so that if council is approving of that, we'd have the job description in place. Doesn't necessarily mean we would hire this position until the need would arise, but we would at least have the job description in place for us to be able to move forward when the time is ready. And then for the ADA portion, we would come back to City Council with another proposal on the January 11th meeting on how to address that. So we're asking, if appropriate, that this would be amended to the job description that is within your red folders. And David and I can answer any more questions, and it's just, we felt it was better just to separate those two and not commingle them and make it too complicated.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a request to amend bill number 15-33 to the job description as provided in the red folder.
Somebody have to read that in?
I think it would be appropriate if somebody made the motion to amend this to the job description labeled as environmental technician,
Okay.
as provided. I think would be perfectly suitable.
I'll make the motion so mentioned.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the amendment. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion to amend bill number 15-33 passed 7-0. Now on to the discussion. Any questions for Mr. Brock or Mr. Krischke?
This new job position is not gonna be hired at this time then?
We're gonna bring back an alternate, well, this position, no, the environmental technician
Okay.
position, as David mentioned, and he should explain it better than I can, but the MS4 is really a little ways away yet before we would need somebody, and FOG's program is really nearing the implementation end, where it would get in more to inspections. So we may be able to wait a period of time, although the position is budgeted, we could wait, I don't know what the appropriate time would be.
Well, as you mentioned, FOGS is closing down, probably just a couple hundred man-hours left to really have all that wrapped up. MS4 attended a meeting in Jeff City late last month. Our permit is contingent on the state getting their general permit from the EPA. That has gone back to public notice again, so best timeline I could get is the state would have their permit in spring. We would have a permit issued early summer. And then we have a 12-month period where we have to adjust our management plan to match all the changes that the state has made over the last 18 months. So as Jim mentioned, if we can just get FOGS wrapped up, wouldn't look to fill this position until maybe late 2016, maybe even 2017.
Question, Mr. Lingenberg?
I'm good, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions for Mr. Brock or Mr. Krischke? And if I could add, I just really want to make sure that everyone is clear, the ADA portion of it, which is a very important portion of this, discussion, that we will bring back an alternate idea or plan on the January 11th meeting. It's just one of those things, after we really delved into it, we felt that may be more time-consuming and may not mesh very well with this existing job description, so we've got a couple of other thoughts that we could bring back to council to address what we'll do going forward with ADA. Thank you, Mr. Krischke. Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Clinkenbeard,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember Brashears,
Aye.
Councilmember Harder,
Aye.
Councilmember Poole,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrelson.
Aye.
And motion carries. A motion is second to read bill number 15-34.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending various sections of the city's personnel policy.
I need a motion for final passage of bill number 15-34.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And we have Mr. Krischke, because Angela bailed on it. She did tonight, yeah. And for a very good reason. We're going to have our Christmas luncheon tomorrow, and she had to make some things. So when it came to food, I said I would definitely take this on for her. But I can go through all of the changes that were recommended. There was one that was questioned at the last council meeting, of which we have a amendment prepared for tonight's meeting. That was also in your red folder, so when I get to that, I will point that out and see if council would agree. But it really starts in section 2.8. It's under probationary, initial probationary period. That's the simplest of all of those. That's 2 commas that are added in there, just for editing purposes, so really nothing of substantial change there. The second change is also in section 4.4. It's employee performance evaluation / appraisal. It's the frequency portion of that section that we're changing. We have moved everyone to a July 1st performance evaluation period, so we've changed that to just reflect the direction that council gave us last year. So that is a change to July 1st for all performance evaluations. Moving then to section B of that same 4.4, which is pay periods and pay checks. This has been inaccurate for years. It always has said that the biweekly payroll will be paid out on the subsequent Friday, and our actual practice is for that check to be paid out on Thursday. So we wanted just to make that change to make sure it reflected what we're actually doing versus what had been put in there years ago. So very simple change on that one as well. Section 5, change in employment status. On 5.3 is the portion that deals with demotions. There was a typo that had been in the policy. It had listed the word promoted, and it really needed to be demoted, so it's really just a change to the correct word for that one. 7.4, and if I go too fast or you want to stop me, please do, but 7.4, tobacco usage, we just added in there e-cigarettes as something that is prohibited as well within the workplace. Further on down into 7.6, we had recognized employees whose job descriptions required the possession of a valid CDL. We just added driver's license as well to that to make sure that those having a requirement for a driver's license also has those same restrictions as in someone that has a CDL license. So again, that was nothing more than just making sure that we added the correct language in there to what we're doing. Section 10.11, that's the residency requirements. That is the amendment that we made. We realized after questions from council at the last meeting that the change that was recommended to within 12 miles, air miles of the station really didn't fit well with all of our emergency management personnel. So what's in front of you is an amendment to propose a different language, and I can read it, and if anybody, when we're finished, wants to go ahead and make this amendment, this would be what we're recommending. Residency requirements apply to personnel within the city whose job descriptions contain language requiring specific response times or residency within a specific time and or distance from the city. Generally, those positions are from the police, fire, and emergency management departments. Residency requirements may also be specified within the job description of designated on-call personnel or in other departments. So what we've done is pretty much just taken this and moved it to the job descriptions and let that be the driver as in to the distance that they must be from their departments.
That way each job you can specify then on an individual basis.
Right. Yeah,
Excellent.
right.
I'll make the motion if you're are you finished?
There are other ones, but we can stop. That was the only one that was the required motion, so we could, or required change.
That's up
Go
to
ahead
you.
and do the motion.
Okay.
He's
I'll
made
go
the
ahead
motion.
and make the motion to adapt that change that you just read in.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the change to bill number 15-34,
Yes.
Subsection 10.11.
subsection 10.11. Thank you. And discussion on that?
She said.
Pardon? Yeah. Is there, and as long as everybody's okay with that change, it really, again, it just takes it from the policy to the job description to make for specifics on their distance and or time from their specific
Well,
department.
that makes more sense too, because you might have one job that you might want them within 10 miles and another one that you might say 15 or 20 or something that wasn't quite as critical, but still wanted them not to be in Branson or something. So it gives you flexibility based on job description. Makes sense.
Yeah. Much easier.
Mr. Jones?
So are all job descriptions going to be modified then accordingly? Is that going to be part of the individual?
That's just for
Written-
emergency response, isn't it?
This is for police, fire, and emergency response. There is a section on on-call personnel in the Public Works Department for those that are in Public Works, street water and wastewater, but they'll also have a portion within their job description as well. But this is more specifically to police, fire, and emergency management.
Did that answer your question, Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Any other questions on, or discussion on the motion?
I guess I have one more. Are like the The fire department, they already have that restriction to be within, is that already in their job descriptions, or by us changing this, do you need to bring back the job descriptions at the next meeting, or how is that gonna work?
They are already set the way they need to be.
It's already in
Yeah,
there, so
yeah.
we're not leaving it open for a window of time here.
No, this will just clean it up to make it, we go back to the job description, which currently have their, those specifics already in there.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion to amend Bill number 15-34 passes. Motion carries. Now back to discussion or the continuation of the reading of the,
We have a few other changes. These are, again, the same as what were proposed at the last meeting under 11.2, types of leave request policy under fringe benefit management. This just adds in some language that we ask for: requests for leave shall be made no later than at least 48 hours in advance, and specify in there, and with regard to military leave as well as any other sick or emergency leave. So just trying to make sure that staff knows that it is very important that we get as much notice as possible for planning purposes and staffing purposes. So that was 11.2. 11.5, that's under sick leave. Our current policy is if you have less than 40 hours used in sick time in a calendar year, you are eligible to convert 24 hours of that to vacation time in the next year. Actually, as a way to try to incentivize people to not use as much sick time, we ask for that to be increased to 40 hours. So if you have 40 hours or less in sick time in a calendar year, that you can convert 40 hours of your sick time into vacation time, and it allows them to use it that way. It's not overly popular or overly used at the moment. We have probably a dozen people that actually take advantage of it under the 24 hours, but we're actually hoping that this will be a bigger incentive and cause us not to use as much sick time as we have in the past. That was the change under 11.5. 11.7 is our personal time off, where we allow all staff members 24 hours per year to be used for personal time. The way it had been written in the past is that you get that in your bank the very beginning of the year or whenever you start. Sometimes we would start staff later in the year, October, November, and even December, and they would get those 3 days and then many times not be able to use them or be forced to use them during their probationary period. So what we had recommended is that we prorate those 24 hours out as the year progresses. So between January 1st and the 31st, you're giving, if you're hired at this particular time, all existing staff will still get that 24 hours. But if you're hired between January 1st and March 31st, you'll get the full 24 hours. The second quarter of the year, April 1st through July 30th, you will receive 18 hours of personal time to be used before year end. Then the third quarter, July 1st through September 30th, you would be given 12 hours. And then the end of the year, anytime between October 1st and the end of the year, December 31st, you would be given 6 hours of personal time to use. It seems to be a fair distribution for all the new hires, and it doesn't put any burden on any departments or staffing if we have somebody needing to take off a lot of time at the end of the year.
A question on that. We were talking last time about when they took that. I think you were allowing them to take it an hour at a time, and that we discussed that most businesses required that they take that in like 2 or 4 hour chunks or whatever, because most people that need to have maybe a half hour, they usually just come in early and leave early. Did we look at that at all?
And I believe, and Angela isn't here, but I believe that was one of the changes we were going to bring back at the next time, is how they can actually use that a lot of time. But you're right, because it is 1 hour right now, and I know Angela has a hard time tracking, and
That's a pain, and most people probably wouldn't utilize it that way.
right. And we had talked about potentially going with a 4-hour distribution. It'd have to take 4 hours at a minimum.
The only problem, and that's why I brought it up now, is that if you go to 4 hours, which is normal in most companies, the person who comes in at 18 hours, that doesn't compute out. The 12 hours works, but the 18 and the 6, you end up with 2 extra. I guess like if they only had 2 left, you could allow them to take the 2 at the end. But that's something to think about. If we are going to do the 4 hours, then giving them 18 or 6 doesn't compute properly.
Right. And this was just dividing it up in 6 hours per quarter.
Right, well, I knew how you got that, but I knew that's where that would come into play, is that, I mean, she'll need to look at that, is that they need to take 4 hours, but if they've only got 2 left, then they should be able to use 2 instead of 4, obviously.
And that was one of those that, we have another series of changes that we're potentially going to bring back.
Okay.
And those were more detailed than these. These were the easy ones at first.
Sure.
So, but that was part of the second grouping, so I'll make sure
I
that
just wanted to make sure that we wanted to use those numbers. If you had planned something else, I wanted them to match up.
No, but that makes sense. It would work on the first and third quarters, but the other ones wouldn't work out so well.
Well, you just have to say if you used 4 the first time and you only had 2 left, that you could take 2 hours at that time. But she may want to look at that. I mean, she can always revise this one again, I guess, if she comes back. But that's my only thought on those.
Okay. Yep, and I know it was noted in the last discussion. If there's no other questions on that, the next was on military leave, 11.10. Again, that is just some simple language in there that for the city to properly plan for future staffing. We just ask that military leave requests be submitted as soon as possible, preferably when orders are assigned or schedule is released. That again gives, in the case of police and fire, them ample time to be able to do their staffing for their needs. Then on to 11.12, unpaid leave of absence. This is the longest of the changes here, and it's very wordy, but really it just outlines how an employee and a department head can treat requests for unpaid leave. Employees requesting unpaid leave not greater than 5 consecutive days in length can have their requests approved by the department head with documentation sent to the Human Resources Department. That'll allow for anything less than 5 days. Of course, anything more than 5 days must be in writing and must be approved through the city administrator. It's just trying to make sure that we cut down on the overusage of any unpaid leave requests. And then it does get into what would happen if somebody requested greater than 5 days, then the employee actually would be responsible for a portion or a share of their benefits like health and life and that sort of thing. Whereas if it's under 5 days, then the city would still pay for those and not prorate that back out to the employee. That's the change there. Again, it's a little bit longer, but that's the gist of that one. Section 11.13 under educational leave, there's just one small wordage change there from casual to causal relationship under number 3. Just changing words, and that was the last one. That was the very last change that's been recommended.
And those were all good changes, especially the causal.
I know that was highlighted by you.
All right, any questions for Mr. Krischke? A lot of stuff there, and appreciate you guys going through that. I know that wasn't an easy task, so appreciate you doing that. No questions for Mr. Krischke? Roll call vote.
Councilmember Harrelson?
Aye.
Councilmember Poole?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Councilmember Brashears?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Councilmember Clinkenbeard?
Aye.
And motion carries 6-0. No new business, on to other business.
Mayor Harder, I'm sorry for the interruption. Before we move on to other business, there was one piece of information I neglected to mention to council during my previous presentation. I want to make sure we capture it.
Can he do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely
You
not.
determine if you want to do it or not. Hijack my meeting.
I will be brief.
Yeah, I'm not so sure what happened, but...
Well, we always try to push the envelope as best we can. There was a document distributed out to council members tonight titled 2016 Unfunded Projects, and what that represents are those projects that we were unable to integrate into the 2016 budget. However, there is the possibility with strengthened revenues during the course of next year that we will be able to underwrite one or more of these projects. What we wanted to do was get council's input and rank which projects that you all believe would be what we should tackle first once we have that opportunity arise. So what we're simply asking is to take this home, rank it, and then bring it back with what you believe we should we should tackle first as those monies arise. And if you have any questions, you can certainly contact me or Mr. Krischke along those lines. So I just want to make sure that was out there. It was distributed for a reason, and we want to make sure it was there.
Okay, so you want ranking on all of these items?
Certainly, or at least on the first 4 or 5
Okay.
that you believe are most important as the funds are available to take those on.
Okay. Council, you have your homework. Mr. Jones?
But did they rank by category, by subset, or are they all one large list?
Consider it all one large list and rank them as you please. I figure we can certainly, at least if we know what are the 5 top priorities, we can certainly work towards fulfilling those goals.
With the exception of personnel, if you could just rank those separate from the unfunded projects. So the top 3 are the unfunded projects from within General Fund, Public Works, and Parks and Recreation. And then, just for our own purposes, it's always worked a little better if we can get personnel as a separate one, if that's okay with you, John.
Sure, that's fine. And I believe this is not the first time. I think, Jim, you did this last year with unfunded projects as well, so.
Anybody else care to hijack the meeting?
And with that, I am definitely done. Thank you.
Okay, council, if you would please, on general fund, public works, parks and recreation, give us your top 5 hitters, and on personnel, if you could rank 1 through 5, rank those, and bring those back
On the 11th.
well, we'll say by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
And tomorrow morning, begin with that.
So we do have homework, so please turn this in as soon as you get it done. Thank you. Now we're on to other business. Resolution number 15-R-78, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri concerning the approval of the 2016 City Council and other meeting dates. I need a motion in a second.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Miss Brenda.
Each year we go through and we come up with a list of the meeting dates and bring it to you guys to look at and approve. We take into consideration the holidays and try to move those meeting dates then either before or after the holiday. Once you guys have approved it, then we publish that in the Republic Monitor for our citizens, so they will have the schedule also.
Thank you, Brenda. Any questions for Mrs. Jackson? Somebody's birthday on there? Sure.
Birthdays included.
Birthdays included. No questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Resolution number 15-R-79, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the execution of a lease agreement with the City of Springfield, Missouri Board of Public Utilities for use of land formerly part of the Brookline Park for future park operations. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Keeling.
Thank you. The next two agenda items are more or less dealing with the same matter. Obviously, we agreed last meeting to sell a portion of Brookline Park to City Utilities for a future substation site. They have divided that property that they now own really into two sections. The actual site where the substation is going to sit, is approximately 4 to 6 acres, in an area they're calling the buffer property, which is between the site and our property.